Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a major development that's making headlines across the world. Ukraine has struck again, and this time the target is one of Russia's most critical supply routes into Crimea. The impact of this attack could be enormous, not just for the ongoing war effort, but for the wider strategic balance in the region. Let's unpack everything that happened, why it matters, and what this could mean moving forward. In the early hours of the morning, explosions were reported near the Kerch Strait, the stretch of water connecting mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. The bridge that crosses this strait has been a lifeline for Russia since it annexed Crimea back in 2014. It's been used for moving troops, fuel, ammunition, and heavy equipment. For Ukraine, this bridge represents not only a strategic military target, but also a powerful symbol of Russian occupation. According to Ukrainian reports, this latest strike was meticulously planned. It wasn't a random attack, but a carefully executed operation involving underwater explosives. Ukrainian sources suggest that the country's special forces managed to place powerful charges beneath the structure, hitting the bridge's support pillars. The explosion was massive, reportedly using more than a ton of explosives. The result was a section of the bridge being rendered unusable, and traffic on the route came to a complete halt for several hours. This isn't the first time Ukraine has gone after the bridge. Back in 2022, a large explosion caused significant damage and temporarily shut down both rail and road access. Then again, in 2023, another attack targeted the bridge, showing Ukraine's continued determination to disrupt Russia's grip over Crimea. But this latest operation is being described as one of the most precise and effective strikes yet, showcasing how far Ukraine's capabilities have advanced. The Russian government was quick to respond, insisting that damage was minimal and that repairs were already underway. But satellite images and independent analyses tell a different story. The strike appears to have damaged key support structures, making it much harder to conduct quick repairs. Even if traffic resumes, the bridge's safety and capacity are likely compromised, which could force Russia to reroute supplies through slower, less efficient alternatives. What makes this strike so important is the timing. Russia has been intensifying its operations in southern Ukraine, trying to maintain control over occupied territories and supply lines running through Crimea. Ukraine, on the other hand, has been focusing on weakening Russia's logistics network. Hitting this bridge is part of a larger strategy aimed at stretching Russian resources thin and disrupting its military coordination. Every hour that bridge remains out of action, Russia's logistical situation worsens. From a tactical point of view, Ukraine's use of underwater explosives marks a new phase in its operation. Previous attacks relied heavily on drones or missiles, but this shows an increasing level of sophistication and creativity in Ukraine's approach. It also highlights the effectiveness of its intelligence and special operations teams, capable of carrying out complex missions deep within enemy-controlled territory. For Russia, this strike is a painful reminder that even its most guarded infrastructure is vulnerable. The bridge was supposed to symbolize the permanence of Russian control over Crimea, a structure built to last generations. Seeing it repeatedly attacked undermines not only logistics but also morale, both among soldiers and civilians who believed Crimea was beyond Ukraine's reach. At the same time, the strike sends a message to the international community. Ukraine is demonstrating that it can hit vital targets without the use of foreign troops, relying instead on its own evolving technology and intelligence. It's also signaling to its allies that the support it's been receiving, especially in surveillance, drones, and special equipment, is being used strategically and effectively. There's also a psychological aspect to consider. Every successful strike like this erodes Russia's sense of control. It forces them to allocate more resources to defense, to strengthen bridges, ports, and railways, rather than focusing purely on offensive operations. This kind of pressure can slowly grind down a military machine that relies on steady and predictable logistics. For Ukraine, this victory is more than symbolic. It directly impacts the battlefield. Supplies that used to flow easily from Russia into Crimea will now face significant delays. Fuel, ammunition, and food shipments will take longer to reach the front lines. In a prolonged conflict, those kinds of logistical disruptions can mean the difference between holding territory and losing it. The Ukrainian government framed the strike as a legitimate act of war. They argue that any infrastructure used by Russia to move military equipment is a valid target. And from a military standpoint, that's hard to dispute. The Kerch Bridge has been essential to Russian operations, and disabling it hits the core of Moscow's ability to project power in southern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has vowed retaliation. There are already reports of intensified missile strikes on Ukrainian cities following the incident. Moscow's propaganda outlets have called the attack an act of terrorism, trying to rally domestic support and justify further escalation. But even with retaliation, the damage is done. Repairing the bridge will take time, resources, and engineering capabilities that are already stretched thin by the ongoing war effort. The international reaction has been telling. Western officials haven't officially confirmed involvement, but have emphasized Ukraine's right to defend itself and target military infrastructure. Analysts point out that such operations could mark the beginning of a broader campaign aimed at isolating Crimea, cutting it off from the rest of Russia. If successful, this could dramatically weaken Moscow's position not only in Crimea, but across southern Ukraine. Historically, control of supply routes has often decided the outcome of wars. When logistics break down, even the most powerful armies struggle. In this case, the Kerch Bridge is not just a piece of infrastructure. It's the artery keeping Russia's southern operations alive. Each successful attack drains more resources, forces more defensive deployments, and weakens the Kremlin's narrative of stability. There's also an emotional element here. For Ukrainians, Crimea has always represented a deep wound, the territory taken by force and symbol of occupation. Every blow against the bridge is seen as a step closer to reclaiming that land, both physically and symbolically. It fuels morale, showing that Ukraine's resistance isn't just surviving, but evolving, learning, and striking back harder each time. Still, it's important to recognize that this war is far from over. While this attack is a major success for Ukraine, Russia still has significant resources and will likely look for alternative routes. There are ferries and supply lines running through occupied territories, though none are as efficient as the bridge. The Kremlin might also try to reinforce air and naval routes, but those are much more vulnerable to interception. The bigger picture here is about momentum. In modern warfare, momentum is everything. It shapes morale, strategy, and international perception. Right now, Ukraine seems to have seized a bit of that momentum back. It's showing initiative, innovation, and determination. These strikes remind everyone that Russia's war machine isn't invincible. At the same time, the operation demonstrates how the conflict is evolving beyond traditional front-line battles. It's becoming a contest of logistics, intelligence, and precision strikes. Ukraine is leveraging technology and creativity to make up for numerical disadvantages. And that adaptability is one of the key reasons the country has been able to hold out for so long against a much larger opponent. For Russia, repairing the bridge won't be the end of its problems. Every time they fix it, they have to wonder when the next attack will come. The cost of constant repair, the fear of renewed strikes, and the growing pressure on supply lines could slowly drain their war effort. In the long term, maintaining control over Crimea may become increasingly unsustainable. Many experts believe Ukraine will continue targeting infrastructure like this in the coming months. Bridges, railway depots, and ammunition storage sites will remain top priorities. The goal is to make occupation too costly and logistically impossible to maintain. It's a slow strategy, but one that could yield long-term results. The resilience of the Ukrainian people also can't be overstated. Each successful strike boosts national pride and reinforces the belief that victory, or at least liberation of occupied territories, is achievable. For Russia, it does the opposite. Ia iniatas that ivos or di, sruption Vesk chips away at the narrative of strength and inevitability that the Kremlin tries to project. Looking ahead, the situation in Crimea could become increasingly tense. Russia may militarize the region even more heavily, while Ukraine continues to probe for weaknesses. If Ukraine manages to keep the pressure on the supply routes, the peninsula could become a logistical trap rather than a stronghold. In conclusion, Ukraine's latest strike on Russia's key supply route into Crimea represents a major strategic and psychological victory. It's a reminder of how modern warfare depends as much on logistics and ingenuity as on raw power. While the bridge might be repaired in time, the message has already been delivered loud and clear. Nowhere is truly safe, and Ukraine's determination remains unbroken. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown informative, make sure to like the video, share it with others who are following the situation, and subscribe for more updates and in-depth analysis. What do you think this strike means for the future of the war? Will Russia be able to adapt, or is Ukraine successfully turning the tide? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.